All right. Getting back into it. So a couple days ago, I started working on a heat-seeking missile, and today I'm going to work some more on that. But thank you. I was checking my levels last time I did this stream. I didn't check, and I was clipping. I don't know. It sounded bad. This is new to me. I'm working on it. One nice thing about doing this is I gotta. I mean, I kind of like the interactivity of it. You know, doing a live performance like this. But on the other hand, I'm definitely not as productive as I would be if I wasn't doing it. But on the third hand, it keeps me motivated to keep working on it. I don't know. It probably all balances out at some point. So before I get into this, let's look at a shader. Let's look at the star field, the background. Is it in here? Yeah, there it is. So I've got this. So I've got this star field, which is just a sprite, basically. It's covering the screen. Can't see it. Oh, you can see it. And it's got a texture on it, right? Which is really just this dark blue background image. And you have to put a texture on a sprite or a texture rectangle if you want to do a shader on it. You have to put a texture or something on it, because if you don't, what'll happen is you won't get UV coordinates. The texture, even if it's a transparent texture, it'll create UV coordinates for the fragment and vertex shaders to work off of. So you just have to put something in. This one I put in. I think it's. I can't tell. It might be black. I don't think it's black. I think it's really dark blue, but it might be black. But then the real star is this. And it ends up giving you this effect, right? This is the shader in action. All this nebula and stars and everything going by. And if we look at this shader, this material rather, you'll see it has a shader inside of it. I'll show you the code for that in a minute. But then it's also got these parameters. And one of the parameters is the position, which I use to pass in the camera position. And then that causes the movement of everything. And then I have these noise textures that I'm passing in. One is just like this cloud looking thing. Here's a slightly different cloud looking thing. And then I've got this star texture, which is just, it's hard to see here, but it's just completely black with some white specks for where the stars are going to appear. And then what the shader does, the code, is just a fragment shader. I'm not going to get into how shaders work, really. I mean, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask, but... excuse me. I'm probably the wrong guy to ask, but... basically, you can have a vertex shader or a fragment shader. In Godot, you can combine them into one program. And the fragment shader controls the colors that are appearing on the texture. So what this one does, basically, is it takes... Well, it does some math to figure out what the aspect ratio of the screen is, the game, just so that I can manipulate it later. And then it does, you see these uniforms here? These uniforms are what, in the shader language, uniforms are like parameters that get passed in. I don't want to get into why they're called uniforms. You'll have to look it up. Wrapping your mind around how shaders work and how it's all parallel processing it took me a while. Don't feel bad if it takes you a long time to understand what's going on here, because it's complicated. But these basically become parameters, and they become these. So in position, I have this vector. And starfield noise 1 and noise 2 are these textures, or sampler 2Ds in shader parlance. So it gets the star texture, and then it manipulates the UV coordinates of the texture based on the position that you passed in. And then it samples the texture at that UV coordinate. Then it does it again, changes the UV coordinate slightly based on the position again, and then samples it, and again, and samples it, and again, and samples it. So you end up with this star texture scaled and repositioned on top of itself 4 times. And that gives you the variety you see in the stars. Some of the stars are moving very fast, some of them are moving very slow, and so it gives you that parallax effect. Then it does the same thing with the noise 1 texture. And is noise 2 used? Oh, and the noise 2 texture, right? Scales, transforms, moves them around a little bit, right? Then it does some stuff with the colors of these different layers. In fact, is this? Yeah, it's doing some color manipulation here as well, because these are all just black and white. So it does some color manipulation, along with the scaling and moving manipulation bits. Adds it all together and spits it out as the color for every pixel of this texture. And you end up with, oh shoot, I wasn't showing. Oh my lord. So it's doing this, right? It's manipulating the UV, sampling it, doing some color manipulation, warping the UV, sampling the texture, color manipulation, adding it all together, and then spitting out this final color for every pixel. And you end up with a nebula that looks like that. So this is all, it's sort of procedural, kind of half procedural. It's based on a couple of textures, but because of the way it's being manipulated here, you can't really see any repeats, and it's like all layered on top of each other. And some of these layers are added, some are subtracted, and it makes it kind of seamless and neat and non-repetitive, and I don't know, I think it looks cool. It took a long time to come up with all of this, and there's no magic behind any of these numbers. It's just, I was messing around with numbers until it ended up looking good, and that's what it is. So it's a pretty small program, shader program. The nice thing about this too is that it's all running on the graphics card, right? So basically it doesn't really affect any performance in the game. I mean, I guess it would if you have a crappy graphics card. But I've run this on like Intel integrated graphics and it runs fine on a laptop. But so the node setup is real simple. It's just a sprite with this material on it. And then I pass in the camera coordinates every frame. Easy peasy. All right, so this guy, last time I was looking at this is a guided missile. Do I have it running? Here it is. So these guided missiles. I got them working. Last time I couldn't quite get the turning right. I got the basic concept working, but the turning wasn't working right. And obviously the art's not in yet. I'm gonna work on that a little bit today. I just wanted kind of a rough, idea of whether they would be fun or not. And I think they are. I think they're fun and interesting, and they make the gameplay kind of interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and finish them. So that was just sort of the rough draft of them, basically. But I was having trouble getting them to rotate correctly in here. How long have I been working on Gravity Ace? I mean, I guess it's been 2 years according to the calendar. But when I started it, so I started doing the prototype, I guess. The prototype took me maybe 2 or 3 weeks back in January of 2018. And then from January to September, I basically didn't do anything on it at all. I just put it away. I thought the prototype was fine. Here's what I came up with in January. Let me show you. I keep a folder. So here's my Gravity Ace game folder. And I keep a scrapbook folder. The actual game code is here. Builds go here. And then this is stuff like for organizing. This is like all my different platforms I'm on. Itch and MailChimp and Twitter and whatever. This is all the assets I need for all that stuff. This is for like videos and devlogs and things like that. And this is my scrapbook. And every screenshot I take, every video I make, I just put it in here. So the original back in January 2018, January 22nd, this is basically what I had. And then I didn't work on it again for, 8 months, 9 months. I just put it down and did other stuff. It's probably just working. But the core mechanics were all there, right? And so since January of that, well, when I picked it up again in September, I've been working on just polishing it, adding more enemy types, fixing bugs, all that good stuff, refining it basically. So a good solid year, and not full time, so part time. Probably if I was working on this full time, it'd have been done a while ago. Humble beginnings. So, I was going to release it in spring of this year, but I came up with that plan in like February. And then, a pandemic happened, and everything at work kind of went bonkers, and, there's a lot of stress. I'm sure everybody's been pretty stressed. I have been. That just threw my schedule out the window. So right now, I'm hoping, this year is my plan, but I don't know exact date yet. I'm very close to being done. What I want to do is I'm working on levels, and I want to add some more enemy types to make the levels more interesting and give people more variety in, if they're making levels, for example, to give themselves more challenges. And I'm thinking early access in Steam, so it doesn't need to be completely finished. Very soon. I'm hoping very soon. So not yesterday, but a couple days ago, I was working on this, and I couldn't figure out, I was having trouble, working on getting the guided missiles to fly correctly. And I simplified it, basically. So all it does now is it just gets the vector to the player, and it just tries to fly the missile towards the player. What I was doing before was I was trying to fly the missile to the player, and then I was also trying to do some physics to calculate its turning radius and how quickly it should be able to change direction. And what I ended up doing, that was all complicated. It was, I was looking at like angular velocity and angular velocity acceleration and friction and, all this stuff. I was also looking at like doing dot products to see which direction I should rotate, and lerping and all this stuff. And what I ended up doing was just scrapping all of that. I just had it move towards the player by changing its velocity by an acceleration parameter. And then I just rotate it in the direction that it's moving. So it's faked, right? It's not actually flying. It's all fake, and which is perfect because it's a video game. It's all fake anyway. So I just rotate it in the direction that it's flying after the fact. Instead of trying to make the rotation determine the direction that it should go, I just have it go the direction I want it, and then fake the rotation so it looks right. It's a lot simpler, and it looks exactly the same. And nobody knows the truth except you and me. Anyway, so it ends up looking like this, which I think looks pretty good. And for now, I like the speed of these things. And I like the way that they turn and how you can dodge them. But you do have to take some evasive maneuver. If you don't do anything, they're going to hit you. You can shoot them down, which I like. They're not incredibly hard to dodge, but you do have to do something. And in tight quarters, they could be difficult to dodge. And especially if there's other things in the level as well that are, attacking you. It just gives you one more thing to think about and have to deal with. And then the launcher itself you can't destroy it. You can only destroy the missiles. So if you loiter in this area, it's just a constant level of harassment. And you have to get what you're going to get in that area and get out. Or constantly deal with them. So, couple of bugs here. One is that you get points no matter what happens. So if you shoot one down, you get some points. But if one hits you, you still get points. And I don't think that makes any sense. Also, if like one of these missiles hits a rock, you'll get points. So let's see if I can make it hit an asteroid. See, it gave you points even though you weren't really involved in its destruction at all. So I need to change that. That's sort of a side effect of the fact that the way I'm giving points is based on the game. The way I programmed it, I assumed that only the player would be destroying things. But with these guys, they can destroy things as well, and they can destroy each other. They can destroy themselves. So I need to put in some code to deal with that. So yeah, let's do that right now. So I have a function here called die. This is called whenever one of them is destroyed. And it creates an explosion, it does a screen shake, it adds some points. It adds a destroyed signal and it deletes itself, right? So I think this actually should be in here somewhere. If body.entity type ID bullet, something like that. But I don't know if my bullet scene, yeah, it does. It does have an entity type ID. And then I think, yeah, that should be it. So my bullets from the player have this entity type ID of bullet. And the missile can say if the body that it's colliding with has bullet, then add some points before it dies. Let's see if that works. Can you ignore the collisions between two types of objects? Maybe. I mean, you can. So the simplest way in here is you look at your object, right? This is my missile object. It's a rigid body 2D of physics object. And there's two things you can manipulate here. One is the collision layer it's on, and one is the collision mask. The collision layer says, I mean, think of it like layers in Photoshop or something. Yeah, exactly. Physics layers, right? So the physics layer, the collision layer is, here's the layer it's on, and things will collide with other things on the same layer. But you can also use this collision mask, and the mask is things that it can collide with that maybe aren't necessarily on its layer. I'm probably not explaining that very well. But yeah, like it says here, it's kind of like a tagging system. They're not visible at all. And you can use these to select which objects it can collide with. And this is a mask for things that it can collide with that it would look for. So if you don't want two things colliding, the simple thing is you just put them on different layers. Put this one on this layer, one of them on this layer, one of them on this layer, and they won't collide. They'll just pass right through each other. The collision signals won't even happen. Yeah. And then you can name these things. Like I have some named like world and structures. This is enemies, the player, right? I think you might even be able to do something in the signal here. So I'm not sure, but you might be able to like return false or something from this and it will ignore it, but I'm not sure. Obviously you can put in different logic here to make it do things depending on what it's colliding with. Pretty flexible system. So I think that should work. Let's see. So that gave me points. And that did not give me points. Points, points, no points. And no points. No points. No points for you. Points. Right? That works. I'm thinking, does it make more sense to put this in the bullet or the missile? It's fine here. I think this is fine. I'm thinking like if I ever look to see, oh, what's creating points in the missile, I'm probably going to look in the missile. So I'm going to leave it here. All right. So my missile, my guided missiles, one of the things it has is the missile itself. The other thing I have is the launcher, which right now looks like this, which is one of my other objects in the game, the blister enemy. So I need new art for this. I need new art for the missile. And then on the missile, one of the things I want to do is add a trail of smoke. It's going to be like a dirty missile, leaving a trail of smoke behind it, which I think is going to be a particle system. And it needs new art. Something blinking. And it needs a, oh god, it's going to need a sound effect. Why do games take so long to make? And, yeah, so I need new art, a sound effect, particle system. I also want to add some code to make it like kind of wobble. I'm going to make a note here to do that. Make it jiggle. I think I'll do this by adding like a random vector to this, so it doesn't always go exactly straight to the player, but there'll be some random, some randomness in it, and you'll see it wiggle around and wobble. Oh yeah, just make it multiplayer. I actually am planning on making a co-op multiplayer. Or not co-op multiplayer, but what do you call it? Local multiplayer, not network multiplayer. There'll be a mode where you can have two players facing off trying to shoot each other in their different ships. I think that'll be fun. Yeah, so I'll do that later. I'll add that code later. Right now, I want to work on little art for the launcher and for the missile. Right, so here's what I have so far for the missile, and I created this as a placeholder, obviously, to just have something to put in the game just to prototype it, but also just check the size, right? And I think this size is good, so I'm going to keep it at 32 by 32 pixels. And yeah, I'm going to add a little animation to it probably. Let's see, let me get my drawing pad out. There we go. This is the palette I'm working with in the game. I use this same palette for everything, all the colors. I'm trying to restrict myself to these, but I'm not like, you know, super strict about it. I'm pretty strict about it, but things like the Nebula, the star background, for example, doesn't really use these colors at all. It's also not really very pixelated. It's kind of like a high def, high color background, but whatever, it's fine. I'm just trying to make something that I think looks good, and I'm not necessarily trying to force myself to stick to a particular method or medium or anything. So let's see. One thing I think I want to do is make this symmetrical, first of all. So I turned on this vertical mirroring. And you notice one thing I did too is it's kind of neat. What was I going to say? Completely went out of my head. Let's save this as missile. Oh, whoa. This is different. I must have upgraded. I must have just upgraded my Sprite, and I don't know how to use it anymore. The screen changed. Oh, these are like tabs. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Mm. Did that work? Look at that, it worked. One thing I really love about this workflow and how HOWTO works is it, you know, you hit export, save it, and flip over, and it's right there in the engine. I love that. Let's see. Load this guy up just to see the color palette here. Kinda nice. Do I want wings on it? I don't know. Yeah, that could work. Let's see. Oops. Alright. What am I going to animate on this guy? Well, alright, so first of all, let me take that back. We're going to have a base layer on here. And I think I want to have like maybe 4 frames. Yeah. So now I've got this base layer. And I can add animation on top of it. Don't think I like that. Maybe. God, can you guys hear my dog barking? He's been very annoying lately. Maybe like backward wings would be cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of cool. Maybe. Thanks, bud. Hey. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for stopping by. I'm super excited for the game as well. Can't wait till it comes out. I can move on with my life. No, I love this game. Yeah, thanks for dropping by, man. The wings give it kind of like a retro feel, right? Hey, Avi. Yep, no problem. I'm going to try and stream again this weekend. I know this is kind of a bad time, but, you know, I have a day job, so. What do you think, Mr. Hahavi? Wings or no wings? I think it kind of gives it a retro kind of feel, but I don't know if that really fits the... Oh, maybe those. I kind of like those. It kind of gives it like a retro feel, but like, do those fit the game? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Right? let's do that. Let's just leave it like that. So what I'm doing here, that's a mistake. Yeah, maybe more edgy. Is I'm putting a lot of detail into it before, too early, basically. And 32 pixels is a lot of room to put in detail. I don't know. My next game, I might have the resolution. This game is 640 by 360. My next game, I might make it whatever half of that is, 320 by 180. And then my sprites will be 16 by 16 instead of 32 by 32. And I'll be forced to put less detail in them because there's less room. And everything will go twice as fast. I'll be able to make the art twice as fast. We'll see. I'll probably do something stupid like make a 3D game. And then everything will take 4 times as long. So animation, I think I want to do like a, you know what, let's do one more thing here. Let's make a like antenna stalk. Oh, let's turn that off. Do something asymmetrical. And yeah. So now on my antenna stalk, I can do a blip, right? See it over there blinking? So you know it's chasing you now. And then let's do another layer here. So this will be the antenna layer. And this is the base. And this is the, I don't know what I'm going to call this. I'll name it in a minute. So this, I want to have some sort of, turn this back on. Something like this. All right. I'm just going to leave it that way for right now because I need to get into the game first. I think 4 frames is probably fine because it's a, small sprite. It's going to be short-lived, and I don't want to, spend a lot of time on something that people are hardly going to see. I mean, you'll see a lot of them, but you won't see them for very long, right? So why am I going to spend tons of time on it? So I think 4 frames is fine, and let's just get it in the game and see how it looks. So I'm going to export it as a sprite sheet by rows, so it'll end up being a vertically stacked, yeah, just like this, right? Is that right? Horizontal strip? Oh, that's actually really cool how the preview works. This is the new version of Sprite I just upgraded the other day. So you can kind of see how it's going to export everything, which is nice. If I did by rows and I said 2, see, that's kind of cool. So you can see how it's going to make the sprite sheet. But I'm just going to do a horizontal strip and export it. Boom. And now when I switch back to the game, it's going to look weird, right? Because this was just a sprite, and now it's a sprite sheet. So I'm going to change this to animated sprite. And with an animated sprite, you have to add some sprite frames. And do this, find my texture, and then you tell it I've got 4 horizontal and 1 vertical frame. Select them all, put them in. And then you tell it how fast you want it to go. And you start playing it. Nice, right? And then now the cool thing about this too is, even though it's a sprite sheet and you've set up all this animation and everything on it, if you go back here and change one of the frames, so I'm going to add a glow to this, we'll call that glow. We'll call this wing effects. So in the glow here, right on this frame, I'm going to add a just semi-transparent thingy here. Oops. Let's turn off the reflection. Right? And in fact, I think I'm going to blur that. Yeah. So now you've got like this glow effect on it, and when I export it, it's just going to put it back, oops, put it back in the sprite sheet, and when I flip back, it's right there. You can see the glow. All right, let's see how that looks. Let's see how it looks. I don't know, man. Now I think they're too big. They look like flying R2-D2s. Yeah, they're too big. Too big, and I don't think I like the rounded front. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's lack of imagination on my part. But I can't really see how it's going to look. I can't see how it's going to look until I put it in the game. And that's why I said I was making a mistake earlier, putting too much detail in. Because I had a feeling I was going to have to redraw it anyway. Because I always have to redraw it. I never don't have to redraw it. So let's do this. Let's change the base shape a little bit. I'm going to make it more pointy for one. Oops, turn back the mirroring. Let's make it more pointy. Not that. Let's do that. Do that. We want it to be more sleek. It needs to look faster. And then let's do that. And that. Let's erase this. No, yeah. Can't be afraid of erasing, John. Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. Let's see. Let's do. Do that. That's getting there. Let's see. Let's do that. That looks interesting. We can move that there. Move the glow. Let's see. So one nice thing you can do with Sprite too is you can grab a frame across all of these and move all of them at once. I think you can. Let's see if I grab all of those. I thought you could do this. I know you can. But I'm struggling to remember how. Oh, there it is. Right, so I can do that. Yeah. And then I can take this side. Grab all those. It's not working. That's fine. Let's just move them. This one, I wanted to go there. This one, there. And this one goes there. And then let's get rid of this. I don't think I like this. Let's get rid of that and delete the glow and the antenna thingy. Let's make something else blink. I know. We'll take this. Let's put that here like that. And then what we'll do is we'll call this blinks. We'll do on frame 1, we'll make this one blink. And then frame 2, this one. And frame 3, this one. And frame 4, this one. Like that. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, let's see. What if I did, for the base, I could erase this. And then Let's make a new layer. We'll call it tip. And maybe the tip is white on that frame and white on this frame. It's looking more interesting. Still might be too big. Let's export it and see what happens. Slimmer, shorter. I think the reason it was looking funny to me was because it's so long, it looks weird that it was turning. I don't know. No, that's fine. I like that. That looks okay. You have to imagine it with a sound, you know, and it's a smoke trail. Let's do the smoke trail. So this whole process is very iterative for me. You know, it's never just, it never just comes out fully formed, fully baked. The ideas. It takes a lot of back and forth and going in circles. Hey, Nick. Nick knows. Nick's an artist. And maybe it's different for you, Nick. And you just, everything's perfect the first time you draw it. I was telling these guys, for me, it's a very circular process where I have to visualize what I want, draw it, see how it looks in the game, draw it again, see how it looks in the game, draw it again. Just keep working on it, hacking away at it until finally I kind of like it. Do this. Okay, particles. Gravity. Visualize that attack. Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's why, you know, I was saying you don't want to put I don't put too much detail into things at first. I put a little, just enough, try it in the game, then if I like it, I don't usually. I have to redraw the whole damn thing, which is why putting in the detail early is a mistake. Yeah, I'm going to uncheck this. So if this basically says when the particles are emitted by the particle system, if this is checked, then the particles themselves are transformed by the position and rotation of the particle system itself. But if you uncheck it, then they kind of detach themselves when they live in global space, and that'll allow it to that'll be what allows them to trail behind and stay in their position wherever they're emitted from. And I want to have some velocity. Let's call it 100. And I want to have some direction. Let's see. I want to spread a little bit, but let's not do 45. Let's do that. And then I need to rotate the whole thing because it's going the wrong direction. Like that. And I'm going to move it so it's coming from there. And 100 is too fast. Let's try 10. And remember, the missile's going to be moving as well, so these don't actually need to come out very fast at all because the missile's moving. But I do want it to come out a little bit with some speed. And then texture, I think I need a circle. I've probably got one somewhere in here, but I'm just going to make another one. Because I might want to change it later. Anyway. Simple. We'll call this missile smoke. So this texture is here. Textures. Missile smoke. Right? I'm going to put the particle system behind the sprite. And I'm going to move it again. There. And then I'm going to do some scaling stuff. I'm going to add a curve. Set the max value of the curve to like 4 just so I can see it better. So this is the time that the particle is alive. And this is the initial scale and this is the ending scale. So you can do things like that. And I can do things like, actually, let's make those a little smaller. Right, something like that. Yeah. And let's do I need 8 of them? Maybe. It's not enough. Let's do that. Let's just see how that looks before I spend any more time on it. Let's see how it looks. See, because remember, when it's moving, it's going to be like that, right? So I might need more. If it's moving that fast, let's see. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. Too long. Let's give that a shorter lifetime. Let's go by half. And it's not quite, it's got a little bit of wobble to it, but not quite enough. So I'm going to add some more spread on the direction. Let's go to 15 degrees of spread. That's cooler, huh? You see how when the missiles are destroyed, the trail disappears. The whole trail just disappears, right? And that's because when the missile's destroyed, it destroys the missile, which destroys all of these things inside, which destroys the particles system, which destroys all the particles that are in it. And that's because in die here, I'm just saying Q free. But what I maybe want to do as a little finesse is hide the thing. instead of just freeing the whole thing, I would want to disable the collision and hide the sprite and turn off the emitter, the particle emitter, and wait half a second. Then cue free, right? Yeah. Let's go ahead and do it. So the way I usually do this, the pattern I usually do, is I'll create a function called playDead. And playDead does all this. Right? Is that how I normally do it? I know I've done it that way before. Oh, I usually put alive in there. Play dead. It's different for this guy, though, because my other enemies, they play dead, right? They don't actually get removed from the game. Like when you destroy a turret or something, it just starts playing its dead animation, and it stays in the game. It just doesn't work anymore, and you can't shoot it anymore, and it doesn't shoot at you anymore. These things, I want them to go away. Hey, Ava. Wow. What's up? How have you been? And welcome, raiding party. That's good to hear. Do you like your new chair? Yeah, I heard about it. I saw you had to stop your stream to go to the store to pick up your chair. Oh, nice. Look at this. That looks a lot like the chair that I have, actually. Except mine has armrests, and mine also has a big hole in it. Oh, shit. I don't have that chair. I have a Herman Miller knockoff that was like $80. And it's got a huge hole, and there's foam coming out, and every time I come in here to sit down, I find new big chunks of foam on the floor. That looks pretty cool. I'm a little jealous. If you look at your keyboard, do you go blind? What is that small display right here? What is this? Is that a Cintiq or something? Nice. So, Spherus's setup is much better than mine. I have literally I have a second gen i5 2500K desktop. I don't even know how old that is, but it's freaking old. And I have a Wacom bamboo tablet. They don't even make these things anymore, but it's just a drawing tablet, right? No screen or anything in it. That was like $80 or something when I got it. I'm sure your microphone is better than mine. You're listening to me on a cheap Samson condenser microphone. I did splurge on my Focusrite my audio interface. And I have a pretty nice boom for the mic holder. Are there two desktops? Do I see two desktops here? There's a red one and a blue one. Yeah, I'm jealous. Every time I price out a new computer, I'm like, you don't need a new computer. Yeah, so let's do this. Move this here. Move this here. So I want to take the sprite and hide it. I want to take the particles to D and stop emitting particles. I want to disable the collision. So I want to take this collision. Let's rename this thing. And disable it. Yeah. Yeah. Frankensteined it. So that disables the collision. And then, yeah, I think I want to do a timer. We'll call this a death timer. We'll set it for 0.5 seconds. And we will not start it automatically. And when the death timer times out, we will destroy ourselves. Like that. So I'll remove this. And in here, I will say death timer start. So when you die, it's going to play dead, which will say, I'm not alive anymore, and hide the sprite and stop the particles system from emitting and turn off the collision. So for all intents and purposes, it's gone, but it's still actually in the game. Then I start the death timer. The death timer will run for half a second. Then it will queue free everything. And that should give time for the particles. That will give time for the particles to kind of naturally disappear without that harsh, abrupt thing. Let's see if that works. No, of course it didn't work. Let's try reloading the game. I made too many, what do you call them? Edits to a scene in motion for the game to cope with. Yeah. So now you can see the trail. It's hard to see, but you can see it kind of just peters out. That's me spending 20 minutes on something that hardly anybody's going to notice. Meanwhile, what was I doing? Oh, so the smoke looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. I like the trail. The missiles are pretty obvious. You can shoot them. I'm going to make the trail a little bit longer. Let's give it a little bit more time. And change my death timer a little bit as well. Let's just do that. should do. I gotta make these things beamable. I forgot. It's one of the selling points of the game. Everything that moves can be beamed. I think I just need to do this. I think that's all it will take. Because I've already got all the code that looks at things that are beamable in this beamable group and makes them be beamable. And to be a prerequisite to be beamable is it needs to be in the beamable group, and it needs to be a rigid body, and it needs to have a collision. I think that should be it. Let's see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen when I beam it, but let's see. Drag it? No. Can I? Look, it's pushing me. Oh, I can hitch a ride. Can I push him back? We're gonna fight. Oh. Oh. Oh, I'm wrestling with it. Ooh, hard to control. All right, so you can catch missiles. Oh, that's a neat idea, yeah. Maybe I should make it so that when you... Maybe when they're beamed... Maybe that's what I'll do. When they're beamed... they will stop trying to fly towards the player, and they'll just keep going in the direction they're going. Let's do that. There's a function for this, but I can't remember what it is. Connect. Detach from player and attach to player. All right. So there's an API here. The beam, when it attaches to the player, calls this on the object that it's beaming. And it calls detach from player when it detaches. So then I can say beamed is false, right? And here, when you attach to player, I can say beamed equals true. Here will be beamed equals false. And I can change the steering behavior here if not beamed. No. Yeah. If not beamed. Keep going. If you're not beamed, then steer. That's confusing. If beamed, do something else. Fuck it. If not beamed. If not beamed, steer. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going, doing what it's doing. Hitching a ride. Like I can change its direction. Fling it. Oh, here it comes. Come with me. Let's get some alone time. Yeah, you can totally hitch a ride on for a little bit. There is still gravity. Oh, I need to make these things not affected by gravity. Let's do that. Missiles shouldn't be affected by gravity. No, they're not. But I am, so I'm pulling it down. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. I don't know. That's kind of fun. The other thing I want to do is I need to make these things transient. That's another group that I have. Transient objects, whenever the level editor loads, it destroys all the transient things. So bullets, smoke, debris are all transient. So whenever you restart a level, they just disappear. All right. So now I got to deal with my launcher. Back to the old drawing board. I'll leave it for speed runs. Maybe, yeah, really. Or, I don't know. It could be like a thing in a level where you don't have enough fuel to get to the other side, so you have to hitch a ride on a missile just to make it through. Yeah, it could be fun. Yeah, when you unbeam it, it'll start seeking again. So that's this code here. So when it's beamed, where is it? When it's beamed, this method gets called by the beam. And I say beamed is true. And when it's disconnected from the beam, it says beamed is false. So here is the steering. And it only does the steering when it's not being beamed. So as soon as this changes to being not beamed, it'll start actively seeking the player again. And as soon as it is beamed, it'll stop seeking the player and just keep going in whatever direction it's going. Oh, this is the other thing I want to do. Make it wobble. I want the missile to kind of be a little wonky. So I think what I want to do is add a random vector to offset the direction that it's that it wants to go. So I want to add a I want to add kind of like a wobbly. How would I do that? I almost want it to behave like there's a string attached to it, or a spring, and like a weight or something attached to it that you can't see, and it's making it just kind of, move back and forth and not quite be able to aim perfectly. Let's call it the offset. And then I'll make vector to player like that. Let's see, let's make it pi over 2 is 90 degrees. So this will be in the direction that we're going, but plus 90 degrees. And this is the magnitude, right? So it'll end up having some motion perpendicular to the direction it wants to actually go. And if then I can do that. So sometimes it'll be sine and cosine. Yeah, that would maybe work. Let's see what this does. feel like I'm going to probably end up spending way too much time on this. So that's kind of the idea, but it's too much. Too much. And it's probably because, I mean, this is running 60 frames per second, so it's doing this 60 times per second. This isn't quite right, but maybe. What if... See, it's almost like I want to do a, maybe. Is it OS? No. Too much. Too much. Kind of. Hey, Cool Dragon. Welcome, welcome. I kind of wanted to be smoother than that. I think, like, the complicated way would be to do something like a noise, like a purlin or open simplex noise or something, and have it run over that. Let's do this. Let's do... something like that. And... let's do this, and then... do that. I kind of don't like putting in magic numbers like this, but no, this is actually a editor plugin that I made. I can even dock it in different places, right? I can put it like that, for example. Yeah, I needed a break, so I did this over the weekend. I wasn't sure it was possible to do, but there's a library that another guy had written this. And this is actually in the asset library as well. So this library. You can install it from the asset lib, and then you can write. It'll connect to Twitch chat, and you can write bots with it. So somebody type exclamation point wave. See that? Do it again. Yeah, so you guys can get my attention. I also added a command for, it's called exclamation point theme, and you can change the theme of the editor while I'm working on it. And there's one for size, exclamation point size, and that will change the size of the text in my editor. Whoa. You guys' eyesight is worse than mine. I'm going to have to take that command away. Boy, I forgot what I was doing. Oh, this. Maybe these should be more like... Yeah, they should be more like... Nope, can't use that. It's a keyword. These should be more like... let's see. Let's do that, and then we'll say var n equals sign ticks right, and do that. Except I don't want it to be random like that. If randf that. No, because the sign will all go negative by itself. That's fine. See how that looks. Fortunately, all the themes in Godot are pretty good. So I'm not. You're not gonna be able to blind me. Oh, now it's just flying completely wrong. That's not right at all. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so this should go from -1 to 1, right, over time, times 5. So it'll go from -5 to 5 over time. It'll rotate it by the direction that the missile's facing, plus 90 degrees, so it'll, right? Let's take that off. Let's do that too, just to see. That kind of works. Looks like I can still shoot the missiles even though they should be disabled. So that's a bug. The wobble looks okay though. Right? See how it just kind of gradually goes back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it's not so gradual because this is milliseconds. What is this actual value? Should make the missile explosion eat up any other missiles that it overlaps. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I could do a whole, like, flocking behavior here where the missiles try to keep their distance from other missiles as well, so they don't overlap. And maybe have the debris that comes out from the explosion also trigger missiles to be destroyed. Something like that. So you might get a chain reaction of missiles blowing up. Or sometimes they would miss and you wouldn't get a chain reaction. Could definitely be fun. Let's do that. What is it printing? So it may not be changing fast enough here. Hey Max, yep, this isn't soccer today. All guided missiles today. And as predicted, I'm spending way too much time on trying to get them to wobble. I mean, they wobble. See, and the reason that we're getting that behavior is because it's adding this offset every frame. This is a global variable. And we probably don't want to actually add it. What we want to do is that. Close. Yeah, I mean, there's the amplitude, but I also think that part of the reason for the amplitude is because it's computing. So this is running every 60th of a second. And this is getting computed 60 times a second. And so the offset is getting added, right, to the velocity 60 times a second. And, you know, over the course of a few hundred milliseconds, the offset doesn't actually change very much, right? It might still be positive. It'll be positive, 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 positive for half a second, and then positive, positive, negative, 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 negative for half a second, right? It goes up and down and up and down. So it just keeps adding and adding and adding this offset for some amount of time, and then subtracting and subtracting and subtracting for a different amount of time. And that's where the extra amplitude is coming from. So it's sort of frame rate dependent, right? But not really, because it's an integrate forces, so it's dependent on the physics frame rate. If I changed the physics frame rate, the amplitude would be different. And what I would like is for it not to be frame rate dependent. So I need to multiply it by delta. And then I would probably need to let's just see. See, now the amplitude's way down. You can barely even see it. So this would need to be like something like that. Still can't see it. See, but now it's like divorced from the value that you would expect it to be. This vector looks like it would be up to 50 pixels. But because you're multiplying it by delta, and delta is so small, it's a 60th of a second, you end up with a value that is kind of divorced from the physical thing that it represents, which I also don't like. It works though. It works. Let me change this. If I make this bigger, it'll go faster. I don't know. I might be getting in the weeds here a little bit. That's good enough for now. So what I'm worried about is, while this looks fine to me, I'm worried that because of the way I've coded it, I'm worried that because of the way I've coded it, it may be physics frame dependent, and it may behave differently on different computers. And if that's the case, then the missiles might just be completely broken on a laptop, for example. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to leave it for now, but I'm making a note to myself to just check this later. So I need to do some testing just to see if it, actually makes any kind of difference. And then, yeah, that's true too, right? I need some like random thing so that the different missiles behave slightly differently, right? A per missile offset of the start time, something in here, because they're all going off the same system clock, but each missile needs its own like system clock plus X, and X for each one will be different, right? Let's do that too. Time offset per missile to make them more unique. Once again, what do we say? Why do games take so long to make? Oh, Lordy. All right, that's good enough for now. It looks okay to me right now, and it's good enough to do some more, to push forward on other things. And I'll circle back to that later. So this is a technical detail that I'll come back to later. But what I want to do next is maybe do some art for the launcher. So let's do that. Where the heck did I save the launcher? Is there a way to see where the art is? There it is. Oh, I didn't make any art for the launcher. What a dope. I was using the blister art. So I didn't make any art yet. That's why I need to draw art for it. So let's just create a new one. How big is this thing? That's the, oops. That's this guy. I mean, I probably don't need it to be that big. 96 pixel thing. Yeah, that'd be cool, man. I'd love to see that. Thanks for sharing it. Obviously, as you can see, I need all the help programming I can get. I think it doesn't need to be that big. Right? So like, look at this thing. If it was here, right? Let's say the missile launcher is here. So I want it to be about as wide as this foot area, and maybe have some stuff kind of going down to show that it's like embedded in the cliff, and maybe stick out a little bit with like a door or something that opens. So it needs to be thick enough that you can see the door opening. But it doesn't need to be this high. And there's going to be missiles shooting out of it. Right? Yeah, so I think something like that size would be about right. Something like that. And what's that? 64 by 26. So let's just call it a 64 by 32. That'll give us some wiggle room. And then I can just draw on a block real quick. Let's see. Let's do... Actually, 32 is not going to be enough. Let's just go 64 by 64. It kind of doesn't matter, right? Because you can draw a giant thing in here, or you can draw a tiny thing. And the transparent areas aren't going to be visible anyway, and you can position it however you like on the screen. So I tend to prefer going bigger than I need to. But I don't want to go crazy, right? And make everything super big. So let's just start here. You can always adjust it and redraw it later. As we know, I'll have to. We'll say, let's do, oh, my game's still running. Oh, that's fine. Let's do, like that. Right? Yeah, something like that. Right? You'll have some like feet and like see the missile go in there, something like that, and it'll be kind of maybe it'll attach itself, embed itself somehow. Do like it's clamped in to the surface. Something like that. Add some color here. Do some segmenting. Like I said, I've said this before, but these guys are kind of like meant to be kind of bug-like. And so you can imagine like a beetle or something, how it's got like an exoskeleton. It's kind of what these guys are like. Something like that. Let's just save that. Well, yeah, let's just save that. So it's gonna get screwed up, obviously, because this sprite has, I don't know, 30 frames of animation or something in it, and this one has none yet. Yeah. So actually, before I do that, let's just make some frames. I think it's probably we'll need some animation for it to open. You can't destroy these things. That's my feeling right now, is you won't be able to destroy them, so it doesn't need a death animation. It just needs a closed animation, an open animation, and a transition where it's opening up. And when it's open, it'll be like, maybe when it's closed too, it'll be like blinking or something. So I need like an idle closed and an open. Do I even need the open? Maybe they're always open. I'm trying to just pre-visualize here. Some people like to scribble and just see what happens, and I do that technique sometimes. I mean, I kind of just did it just here. But it does help sometimes too to kind of just visualize a little bit what you want before you start drawing. Especially with animation, like I'm thinking I probably want about 12 frames. And that just comes from experience with the other art that I've done in the game. 12 frames seems to be kind of a sweet spot. Yeah, I kind of want it to broadcast, right? Visualize then attack. Yeah, so you kind of need to know where you're going, and then you can kind of head that direction and then adjust as you go. I think. Yeah, I think I want like an idle, and let's do that. Oops, let's do that for 4 frames, and we'll call this idle. And then I'll do another 8 frames. Oops. Let's do another. This one I'll call open. And this one I'm going to make it, yeah, like 4 frames again of it opening up, and I can play this one backwards to make it close. Do that. And then 4 frames of open, being open. Right? So this is my base. And then I can do, let's separate out this. So this, I'm going to make a new layer, put it here. And here, and here, and here, and here. So I've got my idle, and then I've got my open. And the open, I can just grab this guy, turn that off, grab this guy, and go copy it here, and here, and here, right? So then I can go on the second frame of the animation. Here's the first frame, it's closed. Actually, I don't need it closed on the first frame because it'll be closed here, and then it goes to open. So this one I can just say open a little bit, delete you. We'll do the other side in a minute. Right, so I can go open a little. Do I have enough? I think I want the whole thing like that. Copy, paste, paste, paste. All right. So the first frame, it'll open a little bit. And the second frame, it's going to really slide over. And then the third frame, it's going to stop and bounce back a little bit. Right? And then it'll just end on that last frame. And then I can just copy this, paste it, flip it. How come that didn't work? Copy, paste, flip. What? Paste, flip. copy, paste, flip. There we go. Copy, paste, flip, copy, paste, flip, copy, paste, flip. Maybe. And then I can merge this down. Like that. So it's idle, sitting there, then it opens, and then here it'll be idling again, but in an open position. How come that's acting so weird? Why is it only copying half of it? Am I losing my mind? Oh shit. That's why, because I copied it on the wrong layer. I copied it on the wrong layer. Dang it. Now it's going to be acting like I expected it to. When I copy, paste, flip. Oh, God, it didn't. All right. Fine. You're killing me. Copy, paste, flip. Merge. Okay. Copy, paste. Right. Okay. So copy, paste, 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 paste. So it'll be closed. It'll open, and then it'll idle open. All right. Let's see how that looks. So 12 frames, 3 different animations, 4 frames each. Save this as launcher and export it as, this time I'm going to go by rows 3, 4. So I'll have the first in this row, second, right? It doesn't matter, but just visually, if I ever look at the file again, I can kind of make sense of it. Export as launcher PNG. And now I flip back to Godot. And replace this with this. And I say it's got 4 of those, 3 of those. Was it 3 of those? 4 of those? Yeah, there we go. All right. So, and it's got all my different frames in it. Pop, 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 pop. Right. And I want to put it like there, because the center here is where the editor will try to place it in relation to a edge of a terrain piece. Let me show you. So if you go in the editor and you draw some terrain, right? You have these edges, right? And if you try to take something, see, it tries to snap it, and the part where it meets the edge here, that's the center origin point of the body. It's this. So this will end up being placed right there at the center. So I need to change the collision. And let's just go ahead and change this to a... No, it's fine. So we'll just redo it. Isn't there some way now where it'll trace the sprite for you? So this doesn't need to be super precise because it doesn't really matter in terms of the player being able to destroy it. It just needs to be good enough. The player's bullets move so quickly, you know, you're not going to be able to tell if it got in here or not, or if it was pixel perfect or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then this. I don't think I need. This is a thingy for that the editor uses. Sometimes I'll have a collision, right? And that's what the game uses when you're playing the game. But sometimes the thing that you're shooting that you want to collide in the game is too small to grab in the editor. So I have an editor collision, and these only collide in basically the game turns off the editor collisions when the game is playing and turns them on when the game is in editor mode. So you can have a bigger grab area to manipulate things in the editor. But this one I don't think it needs it, so I'm just going to delete it. The editor is smart enough to know to check for a collision shape called collision and one called editor collision. It's just the convention I'm using. And if it's not there, it just doesn't do that thing. What is this? Yeah, that's fine. So let's just put that there. And we'll call it... Just make it smaller, right? Something like that. So this visibility enabler, you basically give it a rectangle, and when any part of this rectangle is within the camera, then it lets this whole node work. Okay, and when this is not in the camera, then it pauses the animations, it freezes the physics rigid body, it stops particle systems, pauses animations, turns off process and physics process on the parent node, which is this. So it basically just makes it not do anything when it's off camera. When this rectangle's off camera. Okay, so that's fine. So then I need some animations. So I got my animation player, and I'm not going to have dead. Let's just delete that one. And I'm not going to have, actually I'm not going to have any of these, I don't think. Let's just delete them and I'll start from scratch. let's make a new one. We'll call it closed. And this one will animate the base frame starting at 0 and going to 4. Nope, 4. Three? 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 frames, right? So it's if I do continuous and then I say clamp at the end like that. So it's playing all 4 frames. I'll show you in here. You can see what frame it's on. 1, 2, 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. I'll have it loop as well. And if I play it, so you can see the frame changing. So I can play animation closed and I'll play those 4 frames. Right now they're all the same, but I can go back to the Sprite now and add in some cool animations or whatever and come back here and it'll be there. I'll do the same thing. I'll do a new one for open. This one will start at 4 and it'll end over here at 7. And this one I don't want to loop. I just want it to play once. Change it to continuous, tell it to clamp. Right? I want it to play faster than that. Here we go. And let's just call it half a second. So when I play that one, it'll open. And then I'll create another animation called HOWTO. And this one will play frame 8, 9, 10, and 11. And again, it'll be, oh, and I'll have a loop. So it's playing these animations, right, these frames, but they're all the same right now, so there's nothing to see. But all right, so now in the code, I want to do a couple of things. One, I want to say when the game starts, I want to say, I want to play idle, right? Or closed. Let's rename this one. So open will be my verb. Closed is an adjective. So it is closed. It can open, and it is opened. Adverb? I don't know. So it starts closed. And when it's shooting, maybe this is more complicated than that. Firing spawn pull. Yeah, because I had a firing animation. Yeah, so let's do that. Let's make a new one called firing. Thanks, man. Yeah, let's rename this one to firing. So what firing is going to do is it's going to open. Let's change this back to 1. And then it's going to it's going to shoot a missile. And then it's going to close. So maybe I don't need the open idle. Or maybe I do. Let's do this. So it'll open, and then it's going to go to that. And then it's going to go to that. So that's the firing. It'll open, shoot the missile, close again. And then it'll go back to, so I don't need this one. Delete. So it's either closed or it's firing. So here, I'm going to play the firing, and halfway through the firing animation, it calls this method here, which shoots my missile. And I'm going to cue closed again. So it'll be closed. It's going to shoot, and as soon as the shooting animation is done, it's going to close itself again. And closed is just a loop of like an idle, right? I think that works. Let's see. Let's see. All right. There's my guy, right? I can, right? See how he snaps? That. And if we play now, see what happens. Nothing happens. Why isn't anything happening? Just not playing it? That's wrong too. But, well, maybe it's not. We'll see. How come you're not shooting at me? What calls shoot? Right, right. Am I even getting in here? Yeah. Now it's working. Well, it shot one time. This is what I get for copying code from another thingy. Let's see, blister. What does the animation look like in that thing? Firing, right? Just call spawn bullet. BAP. It was working a minute ago, right? You all saw it. Shoot cooldown. Right. And, right, so... Maybe it's not. Oh, it's probably this. Yeah, the shoot cooldown. So, okay. This says there's a shoot cooldown. It says, hey, whenever the shoot cooldown is done, call this method. But there's a condition here that says if there's an animation playing, then don't do anything. But then I guess the problem is if the timeout, if this timeout is too short, it's not going to fire again. I think that'll fix it. No. Triple stamp a double stamp. It sounds like there's a story there. It is not set to auto start because I start it right here. Let's just see. Let's see where it gets. This must be doing something, right? Right. Bap, 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 bap. See, it thinks the animation. Oh, it is playing. It is playing. The animation is always playing because I have one of the animations running on a loop. The idle animation. Let's just turn that off for now. And then I need to work on the position of the bullet. Right now it's doing that. Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Colliding with itself. I don't want the missiles to collide with the launcher. So the launcher is part of the structures group. And the missile shouldn't collide with structures. It's part of the enemies group. The launcher is part of the structures group. Am I losing my mind? Oh, no, it's because it's not colliding with the structure, it's colliding with the world. So what I want is for the missile to not collide with the world right away. Do I want that? Oopa. Well, I don't know. That's something I might have to figure out later. Really aggressively wants to explode. Yeah. So I think I need something, because I want the missile to, if you're looking at this, I want the missile to like appear here. I want the missile to appear here, like the tip of it, for a second, and then kind of blast off from there. Which means it's going to overlap this terrain. So what I need is maybe a mode where for the first second of its life, it doesn't collide with anything. You can't, the player shouldn't be able to shoot it either until it's launched. So that would be good. I need to basically turn off the collision for the first second of its life. Then when it launches, then the collision will turn on when it's out here somewhere. That way it'll be able to overlap things, and the player won't be able to shoot it until it's too late. Yeah. All right. I need to make a note. So this could be 0. In fact, yeah, let's just leave that, but leave it 0. Right? So then in the missile, I want to say, I want to do something like don't activate collision for 1 second. You can programmatically add and remove collision layers. So if you look at this guy, for example, you can say set collision layer bit, and you can even just say set bit 4 to on, right? Or set bit 4 to off. And you can do the same thing with the masks as well. And what I'm going to do is I don't want to mess around with the collision layers. I do that on some other things. So one pattern I do sometimes is I'll say something like this: var original collision equals collision layer, right? Something like that. So then when this thing is instantiated, I get the whatever this is over here, I just save it in a variable. Then I can change it to whatever I want, and then I can reset it by saying collision layer equals original, right? Later. But I'm not going to do that here. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do collision.disabled, like that. It just turns off the whole thing. It doesn't change any of these bits. It just checks this, and now it doesn't collide. And then you can turn it back on later. So what I'll do is just turn that off for 1 second, and then I'll have a timer or something that just turns it back on later. I'm not sure if this is the right what I'll end up doing, but activate timer, right? And have it do auto start one shot. Actually, not that. Have it be 1 second. Do timeout. And then just do collision dot disabled. So now it's not disabled. And I'll do activate timer dot start, right? So it starts out disabled, the collision. It activates the timer. Just went ahead and did it. And then when the timer times out, it re-enables the collision. I mean, that'll probably work. So again, more I mean, that works, but can't shoot it until it's there. Right, that's fine. But I need to, like, I want the missile to appear behind this thing. So I probably need to put missiles on a lower visibility layer, so they appear behind other objects. And then I need to work on the art for this and make this more interesting. Although I kind of like the shape of it, you know, right off the bat. And I kind of like the way the doors open. So I got lucky there, maybe with the animation and the initial sketch. Maybe I'll make these doors a little thicker. Maybe I'll have them rotate up to open instead of sliding open. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's it for today. Thank you so much, everybody that came and watched. Really appreciate it. And, you know, like I said earlier, in case you weren't here, this whole streaming thing has been kind of a mixed bag for me. I'm getting used to it, right? I haven't done it before. This is like my third one, right? So I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to performing in front of an audience. Sometimes it feels less productive, but on the other hand, it's getting me on a regular schedule where I'm doing work, so I'm making progress, right? So overall, I think it's good, and I think I'm going to keep doing it, and I appreciate everybody who's come out to watch. Thank you very much. Please check out gravityace.com. Tell your friends about the game. Follow me on Twitter. Go wishlist the game on Steam. Go wishlist the game on Steam or follow it on itch.io. Tell everybody you know about it. Really appreciate it. And come by again next time. I'm going to try and stream again probably this weekend, maybe Saturday or Sunday afternoon, Pacific time. And yeah, until then, thanks for coming out, and I'll see you guys next time. Adios, everybody.